Water is life. We all need it. But our water supplies are in trouble worldwide. Permaculture has many solutions for that, but let's first look at some of the things we're doing that are not sustainable and need to change. Remember what happens to soil when we till it. We remove the root systems, which allow water to infiltrate. We compact some of the soil, and we destroy the soil life that keeps it fluffy and helps it to hold more water. When the spring rains come, there's nothing on the ground to help hold the water. No grasses, no trees to capture it, hold it in place until it can sink in. So it just sheets off the land downhill into the nearest stream or river. We're losing millions of tons of topsoil into rivers and ultimately the ocean because of erosion. We then need to import fertilizer to replace the fertility that we just allowed to wash off the field into a river. This erosion problem doesn't just affect us and our bottom line. It has many negative downstream effects. One of these is flooding. Think back to those native tallgrass prairies. Their extensive root systems act like enormous sponges many feet deep. They can easily absorb millions of gallons of water in a field. This not only prevents it from sheeting off and flooding low-lying areas, but it also stores water in the ground and helps keep the soil hydrated. This is a major factor in allowing plants to be more resilient in heavy droughts. Some of that water will continue to trickle down and replenish the underground water supply as well. This is a scene from a town along the Cedar River in Iowa in 2008. Major spring rains caused 1/4 of the town to flood. The corn was just coming up, the roots were small, there was nothing to hold the water, and it just flowed into the rivers. My father had a music store in this flood zone and ended up shutting it down. Many people had to move, businesses closed. This would not have happened to this degree if more land was kept in forests and tallgrass prairies that could absorb some of this water. This happens every year in some place or another in the US in springtime. The good news is that you can grow a lot of food in a food forest. And there's no reason that we can't do that and get the food that we need in a more sustainable way. There are some simple fixes that can prevent some of this damage. Prairie grass strips or tree windbreaks can be included in cornfields to remediate some of this flooding and loss of topsoil. And some farmers are doing this. The land can be bermed in key places as well. These are inexpensive fixes that the US government will even pay for in some cases through the Natural Resources Conservation Service. When we plant water-loving crops in dry areas, we end up reducing the amount of water available in underground supplies. This has some consequences that might be surprising. Many of our major underground aquifers, where wells draw their water from, took hundreds or thousands of years to fill. This is because they're hundreds of feet below the surface, and each drop of rainwater that falls on the earth must slowly work its way through clay, granite, rock, etc. to reach that aquifer. When we draw out massive amounts of water, sometimes the vacuum that's caused results in collapse of the aquifer. When that happens, it can never be refilled again. We've removed any possibility of having that water supply available to use in the future. In Florida, because we have porous limestone as our rock bed, these collapses appear as sinkholes. Sometimes these then become lakes. We don't necessarily lose access to the water, but sometimes this can cause quite a lot of damage to property and pollution of the aquifer, our drinking water, from toxins stored on the surface. An example of this would be the sinkhole that appeared in a gypsum stack of a phosphate mine and released radioactive material and heavy metals into the aquifer in south central Florida a few years ago. In the San Joaquin Valley in California, the heart of a lot of farming for the US, aquifer collapse happens over acres of land. This photo illustrates how much land has subsided because of the copious amount of farming being done in the drylands there. You can see where the land was in 1925 and again in 1977. It's even lower today. So when someone tells you there's plenty of water, they often don't understand that there actually isn't. It's important to understand where we're getting it from and how that source is doing. A key question in permaculture is, what is the source of that energy or resource that we're using? Is our use of it sustainable? For how long? Misuse and overuse of water supply, by the way, is a major reason many civilizations have collapsed, and some have disappeared forever. Water is life. Permaculture has some truly elegant remedies for multiple aspects of these situations that reduce water use, use of fossil fuels, the need for fertilizer, all while rebuilding soils, the water supply, and wildlife diversity. These solutions, such as agroforestry, can be more profitable per acre than corn and entail less expense, water, and care once established. Corn can still be grown between the rows of trees while they're maturing, or trees can be grown in strips or in acreage by rivers to protect the rivers from the runoff. There are many ways to do agroforestry that will provide for our needs and for nature's needs. These approaches that build soil that has been depleted and capture water in the system are much more self-sufficient and therefore create a more permanent agriculture. This is better than sustainable. It's regenerative, meaning that our actions are healing the land and water supply, improving the overall situation, not just maintaining it. We're creating more abundance for our children, not less. And that's a great feeling.